Howdy doodies, I'm Hilah, and today on Hilah Cooking we are going to do a really easy, kind of almost foolproof coconut cream pie. I've been teasing this on my Instagram feed for a little while and I've been perfecting it, so I'm really excited to share this with you today. For some reason, coconut cream pie is really popular in the South and it's just really great. If you love coconut, you will love this pie. We gotta pre-bake our pie. I've got a pie crust here that I made yesterday, and I actually used coconut fat instead of butter just to like bump up the coconut flavor. We're gonna fully bake this crust as opposed to a partial bake like with a pecan pie or a pumpkin pie. So first I'm gonna poke some holes in the bottom, and that's just to let some steam out to keep the bottom from puffing up so much. And then I've got here a piece of foil with just some dried beans in it. And this is our little weight. So just sort of lightly press the foil down along the bottom and spread your beans out evenly. And this is gonna kind of hold it down to keep it from bubbling up. And we're just gonna bake it at 425 for about 15 minutes. While our crust is baking, we can go ahead and toast up some coconut. And I've just got the coconut in a dry skillet. You can use sweetened or unsweetened flakes. I'm using a mixture of both because that's what I had. So I'm just gonna cook this over kind of a medium-high heat for a couple of minutes. Stir it pretty frequently until you start to see some little golden brown flecks popping up. All right, so you'll see here, just like almost overnight or instantaneously, like it'll go from white to this blonde beige color. So we can turn the heat off and set that aside. And the timer actually just went off for the pie crust, so I'm gonna get that out of the oven and we're gonna put a little egg glaze on it real quick. All right, so our pie crust is baked for 15 minutes. So I'm gonna pull out the foil, careful because it's hot. And you can reuse the foil and the beans as many times as you want. Uh-oh, bean overboard. I don't think you could cook them after you've baked them, but whatever. And now I've got, of my 4 eggs for the filling, I'm just gonna separate one of them over here and use the white. We'll save the yolk to go in the filling. And I'm just gonna loosen it up a little bit and then just brush all over the crust with this egg white. And what this is gonna do is, number one, is seal it, sort of, so that when we put the filling in later and then put it in the fridge, the crust doesn't absorb all the liquid from the filling and get soggy. And it's also gonna add a nice, lovely golden color to the edges. So make sure that you get all the way up the sides and then go ahead and get this little top bit and it'll be real nice and pretty later. Okay, got it coated well. I'm gonna put it back in the oven for about 5 minutes just to let it set, to cook the egg and actually set that coating, and I'll be back in 5. So we can start putting together our filling, and first I've got some cornstarch and sugar here, so we just wanna get these a little combined just to get any lumps out of the cornstarch. Just give it a wee whisking, and then we're gonna add some half and half. It's not like a low-fat pie by any means, but we are gonna use low-fat coconut milk. This dissolved, and then the coconut milk. And I do not have my stove on yet. We want to make sure that all of our cornstarch is dissolved in the cold liquids before we turn any heat on it. And then we're going to add some eggs. So I've got the egg yolk that I separated already. Then we use the white for the crust. So I've got 3 more whole eggs I'm going to add to that. And you'll see a lot of recipes that just call for egg yolks in the filling. But if you have the whites in there, they'll help it set and you won't worry about having a soupy pie. So I'm just gonna beat these up really, really well. A blender would work well for this too, just to make sure that the whites are super incorporated before I add it to the other mixture. Okay, so like 30 seconds of vigorous whisking, so I can go ahead and add it to the coconut milk mix. Okay, this looks great. And now my crust is just about done, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that out and set it aside before we actually put any heat on this business. Put the heat on it. Okay, crust set aside. I'm gonna turn on my heat to about medium and just whisk it. We're gonna just keep moving it for about 5 minutes or so until you'll start to see some bubbles come up. So I said bubbling, I meant steaming. After about 5 minutes, it'll start to steam, and that's when we want to turn it down to low, and then cook it for another 5 minutes. You can see it's already starting to thicken up quite a bit. So just keep stirring it, and it's gonna, help prevent any lumps. And I will show you what it looks like when it's thick enough, but we are well on our way. Okay, so just about 5 minutes. This has gotten really nice and thick, kind of like when we made the banana pudding. When you scoop up some with your whisk, see how it kind of like fills the wires of the whisk there? It clings to that. So we can turn the heat off. And now we can pour it into our shell. And I put about half of our toasted coconut into the bottom of the shell here. We're going to save the other half to put on top. And just pour in our hot liquid. Okay, awesome. And now I'm going to just cover it with saran wrap. This is going to keep it from getting that little skin on top, although that doesn't really matter because we are going to cover it with whipped cream later. But whatever, do it if you want to. So the key is just to make sure that it's actually touching the surface of the pudding. And I like to keep the crust out from under there because we don't want that to sit in there and steam the crust and make it soggy. So just sort of fold it in so it's not covering the crust, just covering the filling. And we'll put it in the fridge for about 4 hours until it's completely cooled and set. And I have one already ready for you and for me. Okay, so here is my fully set pie. You can see how totally firm that center is, so that's going to be really great for slicing. It's not going to fall apart on us. And I've just got some whipped cream. This is just some heavy cream that I beat with the whisk attachment for about 5 minutes until it was nice and stiff, and put a little bit of sugar in there. So sort of start around the edges and just smooth it as evenly as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. And just seal up around all the edges. And I do recommend doing the whipped cream part right before you serve it. But you can make the pie up to a couple days in advance, as long as you keep it refrigerated. Okay. Yay. Okay, I won't lick my finger on camera. That's tacky. Okay, and then we've got the rest of our toasted coconut, so we're just going to sprinkle that on top. And if you hate coconut too, you can totally do something like this just with like a vanilla cream and use more half and half in place of the coconut milk. That looks just pretty as a picture. Pretty as a picture of a pie, right? Okay, I'm going to try to cut it. Dare I? Let's see what the hell happens. Okay. I don't know what I'm so nervous about. It's going to be perfect. Oh boy. Dudes, look at that creamy deliciousness. Wow. Oh my God, I'm stoked about this. And look at that in there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a really flaky crust, dudes. Okay, here we go. Okay. This is my pie dance. This is my pie dance. That is a good pie, dudes. I mean, seriously, if you love coconut, you will love this pie. It's so creamy. It's got such a great coconut flavor all throughout. And then with the crunchy little bits of toasted coconut on top, it's just a flavor sensation, if I do say so. So I think this would be a great dessert for any kind of like Christmas or whatever, because it looks like, you know, an iceberg or a snowdrift in a pie crust. Very wintry, very celebratory. So I hope you try it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye.